What's happened since the last time we saw you guys? Let's see. People have shown up on AEW. Raw was a highlight show of the Royal Rumble. SmackDown was a closed set. And the country has shut down. If you have toilet paper, consider yourselves lucky. This is Wrestling with Egos. I'm Patrick, joined alongside each and every week by my best friend Brian. Thank you guys so much for joining us and being part of the show, either on Anchor Podcasts or on YouTube. Wow. Let's be honest, boys and girls, we don't really have a whole lot to talk about topically because not much happened this week. Kind of weird, kind of Twilight Zone-y. Brian, you're a teacher and you ain't going to school. State of Ohio gave you a 3-week long spring break.
I get why we're doing it. I'm here to say I totally understand why things are the way they are. And I'm also here to say that just like things in the real world, the wrestling world, it's a very fluid situation. You know, things change by the hour, things change by the day. A lot happened in a week since we joined you last on Wrestling with Egos. But as ever, we want you all to join the conversation. We want you to email the show, wrestlingwithegos@gmail.com. We want you to check out the Google repository with past episodes, bit.ly/withegos. We want you to join the conversation on Twitter. Patrick can be reached at rantmodeon, and your boy can be reached at bcrigo15. So a lot of things were supposed to happen this week. I was actually supposed to speak at a conference in Akron, an educational conference about technology. I got word middle of the week, 2 weeks ago, that was canceled. Between that and between our school being closed indefinitely for the foreseeable future, we've had to go to online learning and things like that. So it's a weird time, and I think what people are looking for is some escape. And the world of wrestling, for our good friends who are wrestling fans, and even those casual folks that are just checking us out and showing us love by supporting us on YouTube and Anchor, and we thank you for that, by the way. The world of wrestling has always brought my spirits up when I've needed it to.
Let's also be honest. People are watching us and a lot of other shows because there's nothing else right now, man. This is a weird situation.
And it gives us a chance, as Patrick said to start off the show, it gives us a chance to be not quite so topical and dive into the history books a little bit, which is what we plan on doing later on tonight with our bar talk, and kind of peel back the curtain and let you all know out there in Wrestling with Egos land why this sport of professional wrestling interests Patrick and I so much.
Guys, I mean, It's not just me and you, man. It's what, these are our feelings, but everybody else has their own opinion, and obviously please engage with us through social media, through comments on the YouTube page. I think you can even comment on Anchor. I'm not 100% sure. If you can, cool. If not, tweet us, email the show, whatever. But let's be honest, man, instead of trying to explain how we feel about what's going on in the world and everything else, can we just get, even though we're not officially doing a good, bad, and the ugly, I've got a good, bad, and the ugly anyway. And it has nothing to do with wrestling. Very quickly, number one, Teddy Bridgewater is actually getting a shot at being a starter again. That's great. Bad, Tom Brady is now in Tampa with a whole lot of weapons. And ugly, Teddy Bridgewater has a starting job with Carolina, which means my boy, Cam Newton, out of a job. Been told, go find a trade. I hate football. Moving right along.
How do you think I feel? All of a sudden, everybody's taking dead aim at the Saints because Atlanta's got Todd Gurley. And Tampa's loading up with Tom Brady and other people, and Carolina's got Teddy Bridgewater. So, I mean, I wish everybody well. You still got to come at the champ, though, for whatever that's worth. I mean, all those NFC South banners hanging from the rafters of the Superdome, they look great, but
yeah. Well, let's go ahead and get into it and talk about, let's go ahead and get the ugly part out of the way. And that is the news that for the first time ever, WrestleMania, because of all the things going on in the world, will now be closed set. It'll be at the Performance Center. It'll be a 2-night event with Rob Gronkowski hosting. I don't know why we have to. I don't care. I don't care about hosts. I don't care about musical guests. There's nothing to create the pageantry of WrestleMania. Why are we pretending that there should be? Let's be honest. This is going to be down and dirty. This is going to be wrestlers essentially performing in front of a house of maybe 17 people. I have zero problem with the fact that WWE made the smart decision to cancel all of the events. And I've got a smart ass comment coming here in just a minute. But let's focus on WrestleMania as a whole. We don't need all the trimmings and everything else that we usually get with WrestleMania, because right now, it doesn't make any sense. Literally makes zero sense. Having Gronkowski host it. Okay, cool. We're doing a 2-night event. That's awesome. Mainly because there's no takeover, and we can now spread this long-ass show over the course of 2 nights. And it'd be even better if we find out which cards are Saturday, which cards are Sunday, and maybe we can miss some crap that we don't want to see. The thing is, though, obviously, there's not going to be any emotional payoff from the crowd, which is one of the best parts of WrestleMania because it's so big and it's international, and those European fans party like it's, Saturday night in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and LSU is playing at home. Shout out to Chris Lemke. But it's weird. Here's my smart ass comment. The Hall of Fame is canceled, at least for now, which means we do not have to physically hear the Bellas. We do not have to hear words coming out of their mouth. To quote a great philosopher on a former podcast I used to do by the name of Todd Bobbin-Reith, when we did Audibly Offensive Radio, she's really pretty until sounds come out of her mouth. He said that about Katy Perry.
What's up, Todd?
Yeah, what up, Todd? But, okay, cool. We don't have to hear the Bellas. These, okay, yes. Do they deserve it? Yeah. Arguable. But we don't get to hear them. Hearing Nikki, I would much rather hear a 20-minute long promo from the Great Khali than I would listen to Nikki Bella speak. And at the same time, we also get to avoid the vitriol from the fans that will be there Hall of Fame night booing the Bellas incessantly.
That's probably one of our greatest oversights is when we did our bar talk about best promo guys back in December or whenever it was, we didn't include the Great Khali. And I would like
behind that.
And I would like to take this moment to apologize to the Wrestling with Egos community for not, just kidding. I'm not going to apologize for not including the Great Khali. What I would like to do, though, however, I want to backtrack a little bit. I thought about this during the week when I saw all of the closed set shows that all of the promotions have been doing. Obviously, AEW is doing it, WWE's been doing it, and it made me think about what going forward is going to have to be done by these performers to get, to make us emotionally invested in it. And the perfect example of this, I'm going to give you 2 examples from Wednesday.
Okay.
AEW Revolution starts. Not AEW Dynamite starts, sorry. And it's Cody Rhodes by himself in the ring with a microphone and a camera. And over the course of 3.5 minutes, I thought to myself, I would run through a brick wall for this guy. I would get up and run through this brick wall right behind me, try to anyway, based on if Cody got me lathered up to the point where, yes?
That's not a brick wall. That's just a backdrop, right? I know. Brian, I'm being a smartass. I've been in your house. I know. Okay. I was trying to. No, that's like a backdrop from like JCPenney photo studios, right?
This isn't a green screen, folks. This is actual,
No, I didn't say green screen. I said it was like the backdrop that they have at the JCPenney photo studios where, they can, pull the curtain this way and it's now a brick wall. Pull the curtain this way and it's now a farm.
Right. And then also on NXT, there was a long form promo for Finn Balor.
Yeah.
Finn, I'm going to call it a long form promo because it was other action from earlier on in the year and whatever. But he's sitting there with a chair. He's got steam coming up behind him or whatever it was, and he's making you feel this WrestleMania coming up and this blood and guts whenever it happens from AEW. We're going to find out who can make us feel going through a camera screen. Because so many of our indelible WrestleMania moments and our pay-per-view moments and things like that have happened because of the live crowd. You think about WrestleMania 30 and the way they reacted to Daniel Bryan when he beat Triple H at the beginning of the night and then beat Orton and Batista for the championship at the end of the night. You think about the massive crowd reaction when Hogan and Rock faced off in Toronto at WrestleMania 18. You think about when Hogan and Andre squared off and the way the crowd in the Silverdome went nuts. And we can go on and on and on. I'm sure there's WCW examples that I'm missing out on right now. I'm sure Flair elicited a lot of those responses from people. I know he did. Whenever the Horsemen would beat up Dusty Rhodes and stuff like that in the steel cage, and it was almost a full-scale riot. You want those crowd reactions, but here's where we're going to find out who can translate their in-ring work and their mic work out of the confines of an empty arena and onto the television screen. Right. I would argue that the list is short.
Very.
Because so many of these folks, and more power to them, because I know I couldn't do what they do. They rely on that interplay with the crowd, whether it's 150 people or 150,000 people. They're relying on that interplay. And it's going to be interesting to see over the course of the next several months as this unfolds, however it's going to unfold, who out there is making you feel? Who out there is saying, yeah, I want to get behind this guy, or I want to get behind this girl because I understand how she's been struggling and everything else. And I would argue that the list is very, very short of people that can do that. And it starts with Cody and Finn, in my opinion.
Right.
So that's going to be an important thing to watch going forward here.
For me, I think this is also could be a bad thing for wrestling because it's going to expose a lot of people, and not in a good way. I mean, people that rely on the crowd reaction to make their impact as opposed to what they can do inside that 20 by 20 ring. Can I be honest? An empty crowd, an empty venue, Goldberg and Roman Reigns, someone please shoot me now.
A lot of the matches are going to suffer. There's no, and I think that's another reason why it's smart to do it over 2 nights, because you can move the chess pieces around a little bit. I think you're going to have a combination of NXT and Raw SmackDown on both nights. I don't think you're going to put all the NXT matches on Saturday.
I don't think they're going to do any of the NXT matches. I think they're splitting up the card, that massive 17-hour WrestleMania card that they always do. Then again, I don't know, because sometimes that 17-minute WrestleMania card is all the entrances and the 7.5 minutes it takes the Undertaker to walk down the ramp to midfield in a football stadium.
Yeah.
That ramp sometimes is 50 yards.
Yeah, that's a good point. I just wonder, they might decide, okay, we're going to table some of these matches that we were originally going to have. And I guess, you don't want to do that and wreck somebody's payday. But still, I mean, in the interest of, oh my goodness, in the interest of generating new stars.
Right.
Well, that's Patrick.
Vince McMahon is going to table something. All right, you need to check your temperature right now.
I'm good. I feel
hands recently.
Yeah.
All right.
I watched Alton Brown's YouTube video. I'm doing exactly what he does. I'm doing the 30-second thing like he does.
Yeah. Dude, Vince McMahon ain't tabling a damn thing. And you know it. I know it. And anybody watching this show knows it. And if you're holding out hope that maybe Vince McMahon will table something and not think, oh, well, got to do the show. This is the same Vincent Kennedy McMahon that just put on a show in Saudi Arabia.
I know. You know me, though. You know the role I serve on this show. I'm the king of wishful thinking.
Good song, by the way.
Yeah, very good song.
Very good song, by the way. Well, let's go ahead and talk about something that actually did elicit a little bit better reaction than any of the in-studio stuff WWE produced this week. And that would be AEW. AEW was actually fun to watch this week. Not because of the matches. The matches were good. I mean, there wasn't anything that really stood out that was amazing. Well, Lucha Brothers and Best Friends was pretty good. But it was
Cero Muerto.
It was the crowd reaction at Dynamite. Now, but wait a minute. It was a closed set at Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida. What do you mean the crowd reaction? And this is something I hope they do at Mania. The crowd was the rest of the talent.
The peanut gallery.
Yeah, there was the peanut gallery. You had MJF staying in character the whole time, because that's what MJF does, doing side bets and side hustle with Sean Spears and Tully Blanchard. You had all of SCU on the other side. And, after the women's four-way match, Rio came out. You saw Jake Roberts and Lance Archer. Lance Archer looks jacked, by the way. People were just kind of coming in and out, and it was really cool. Colt Cabana was at ringside. No, he did not say hi to CM Punk. Had to throw that one out there. But it was just really cool to see. And I got to be honest, I kind of hope we get that at Mania. I kind of hope they take a page out of what they're doing and go, hey, guys, go sit out in the crowd. Have fun. If you're not on the card, go sit out there. If you're on the card, the match is done and you get a shower, go sit out there.
A thought just occurred to me. Could you imagine, like, let's say during Goldberg and Roman Reigns' New Day is sitting up in the bleach, or sitting up in the, could you just imagine? That would be freaking awesome. Like the trauma.
He with his back, with his thing of popcorn.
Yeah. That should be me up there. Yeah. That should be me.
Oh my God. That could be fun.
Yeah.
And my opinion, and obviously we're going to be dealing with bull crap like this for the next several weeks. So topic number 1 for next week: what can WrestleMania do to actually make the show fun? Because let's be honest, in studio, no crowd, it's not going to be fun. It's going to be good wrestling, we hope, but it's not going to be fun. What can WrestleMania do to make it fun? Truth be told, I think I'm going to be honest, fire Michael Cole, and the commentary team is all three members of the New Day. Yeah, I think all three members of the New Day, maybe the entire cast of Up, Up, Down, Down. I don't know. Let's figure it out. But that is a topic for next week. But AEW was pretty good. They had 2 spots that they were bad as hell with no crowd. Could you imagine what it would have been like for the way? Let's start with the really good one. Lights are out, spotlight hits somewhere in the crowd, and then there's Matt Hardy. Delay. Just having that in the crowd and that spotlight on him. Just look at how they ended the show. But just imagine a crowd around him in a building in what would have been Rochester, New York. That would have been freaking sweet.
I mean, the hair stood up on the back of my neck when that happened.
Well, me too.
Because of the presentation and everything like that. So I can only imagine if there had been a live crowd to react to it, it would have been even more epic than it was.
Oh, God, yeah. And shout out to AEW, because I don't know if you saw it, but right after Dynamite went off the air, they on all forms of social media, put out a link to AEW shop to where you could get Matt Hardy's very first AEW t-shirt, and it says All Delete Wrestling.
That's cool.
It's like, that's awesome. So very happy that broken Matt Hardy is going to get a chance to do what he does better than anybody on the planet. And yes, and I mean reinvent himself, and he does it better than Jericho ever dreamed of.
I've got a good analogy for Matt Hardy.
What's that?
He's the Pied Piper of wrestling.
Oh my God, yes. Yes.
Going all the way back to when it was him and Jeff doing, I mean, they were Matt was always the brains kind of behind all of that. And throughout, and then when he did the V1 stuff with Shannon Moore, and then when he he was the mastermind behind when Matt and Jeff went at it, in their angle as heel and face. And then on to the broken character when he was away for a while doing his own thing. He strikes me as the Pied Piper of Hamlin, if you think about it.
He is, in our generation of wrestling fandom, and by that I mean guys that we were able to watch as either knowledgeable teenagers, young adults in that area, junior, senior year of high school up to mid-20s. If you were there, that's kind of, and the people that start then, that's your generation. In our generation of like adult wrestling fandom, we got 2 of the greatest minds in the history of the business in one feud, and it was Matt Hardy and Edge. When we had the entire TLC angle going down, we had 2 of the greatest minds we've ever seen. Matt Hardy, Edge is brilliant. John Cena once called him the Einstein of this business. Matt Hardy might be one of the most creative human beings ever, because that broken universe, everything that he has put in intellectually to the broken universe is just amazing. To play a little bit of a pun and do a little bit of a Matt Hardy thing, it's been wonderful. But I love everything about it, and I agree with you. I got a little bit of chicken skin, when the piano was playing and he's up there, and I'm just like, oh my God, if there was a crowd there wouldn't be a roof on that damn building.
They'd be losing their minds, and I guess that's the whole point. And yeah. But again, the whole night they were doing such a great job of weaving all of these people into all of these things. It makes you believe like everybody's got a stake in this. Yep. You can feel the pain on Matt Jackson's face when every time they mention that Nick, or the other way around, Is it Nick who's out right now, or is it Matt who's out right now?
I don't know. I can't keep him straight.
But you could see the pain in his face. Like it killed him that his brother wasn't there, you know. And then the interaction with Hangman Page and the fact that I'm going to do what I have to do, but I'm out here for me. I'm not out here for everybody else, you know. And Kenny Omega with the broken wrist. He's not cleared to wrestle right now. And you just see all of these stakes that everybody has wrapped up in this. And then the whole time, you've got the inner circle over there just twisting the knife a little bit. Yeah, fine, that's great. These guys, you know, Jericho on commentary doing what Jericho does. And, you know, everybody played their part note perfect, I thought.
Very much so. And then we get to the other good part of AEW, which was the unveiling of the Exalted One, Brody Lee, formerly known as Luke Harper. The unveil was awesome. That taped vignette with him with the hood, and the voice was masked to begin with. And as soon as, because I avoided spoilers when I was at work on Wednesday, got home Wednesday, watched it, and as soon as they masked the voice, I'm like, it's hard. It's Brody Lee. It's Brody Lee, because it would have made too much. It wouldn't have made sense to voice mask broken Matt Hardy. You just can't do that.
Right. You'd see right through it.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, it's Brody Lee, and then he takes the hood off and he introduces himself to Christopher Daniels, and then the line of the night, gang. Christopher Daniels, you're not the first out of touch old man to not believe in me. Oh, that was double burn to VKM in the worst way. Just, and I loved it.
The significance of that was not lost on me either. I heard that and I'm like, oh, Yahtzee.
Oh, I was just like, that wasn't a low blow. That was high and tight. I mean, he threw that one like Vince McMahon played for the Houston Astros. But it was beautiful. And now I'm really invested in seeing what they do with the Dark Order. Because let's be honest, even up until the point where Evil Uno is in the ring, Evil Uno does not lie. I do not tell lies. I do this and this and this. By the way, his voice sounds pretty cool. He has that very evil villain, comic book villain kind of voice. I like it.
But it still struck me as rudderless for a time. Like, okay, where are you going with this? What's the payoff?
Even Wednesday night, I'm like, oh, you know, the Exalted One is near. Ha 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 ha. Even if I would have never seen Evil Uno, I would have imagined a big dude with a gigantic ass cigar, just ha 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 ha.
Snidely Whiplash.
Yes, Snidely Whiplash. Whoa. Anyway, but doing all that, and then Christopher Daniels comes in, and then it happens, and another thing that Brody Lee did that was not lost on me. Did you see how he laid out Christopher Daniels?
Remind me, because it's been a couple days since I saw it.
He did that big-ass discus clothesline of his, but beforehand, he was holding Christopher Daniels in a certain cradled position.
Like somebody else we know.
Abigail threw him backwards, spun around, and just torqued the hell out of that thing. I was like, damn, JBL gives that one a 9.5. I mean, that had some mustard on it. Don't get me wrong. A good, nasty lariat is just sexy as hell. So for Brody Lee to just, bam, like, yeah, it was good crap, pal. Still watching my language. But man, so good. I'm glad to see, you know, Dark Order may end up, and I'm throwing a wet spaghetti noodle against the wall. This isn't even coming close to me saying, if I'm right about this, blah, 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 blah. Dark Order may end up being AEW's version of the New Day. And I don't mean like that. I mean something that started off and it was just a smoldering turd on the sidewalk in the middle of July.
And then all of a sudden it's like, look what we have.
And then that smoldering turd becomes the fuel, the food in the ground, the fertilizer in the ground that spawns this massive garden of just amazingness. Yeah. And that's exactly what New Day was. And this could be one of those things where Dark Order starts off and like, what in the bloody hell is this?
Because I think what AEW is trying to do is they're trying to make sure the entire roster has something they can sink their teeth into, from the young, the greenest guy, if you will, or gal, all the way up to whatever the elite's doing, whatever the inner circle is doing, because that's the key to a great roster. You have to have something for every single person at every level to sink their teeth into.
Technically, wouldn't the greenest guy on the roster be Luchasaurus?
Yes. Didn't choose my words quite so carefully there, but I think you get what I'm coming at.
You remember, on this show and in life, in any of our interactions as friends, dealing with me, you are walking through a minefield. You just never know when you're going to step on one. And by the way, I don't mean the kaboom minefield. I mean somebody's backyard and they haven't picked up after their dog in 3 years. That kind of minefield.
Yeah. Can somebody get me a putty knife, please? I have to clean something up.
You never know when you're going to step in something, not necessarily on something. Doesn't go kaboom. It goes, ew. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on, because let's be honest, topically, there ain't much more to talk about. It is homework time, boys and girls. Pass your papers to the front. Brian, I'm going to call you to the class. First, I would like for you to give your dissertation of your homework assignments from last week, which was from Clash of Champions 9 New York Knockout for the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship. The Nature Boy, woo, Ric Flair, defending against Terry Funk in an I Quit match. Something I don't believe you had seen in quite a while. I know you have seen it because of all the Ric Flair anthologies that are on DVD, Blu-ray. But this was your first time to critically take a look at this match. Go for it.
The first thing that struck me, and I don't know how you can forget something like this, but I forgot what a stiff worker Terry Funk is. Funk.
How the hell do you forget something like that? That's like saying I forgot how big Andre was.
And full disclosure, I haven't seen a lot of Terry Funk matches, period. I mean, I saw him at the end of his career when he was, Chainsaw Charlie in WWE and things like that. I haven't gone back and watched a lot of the NWA stuff and a lot of the territory stuff, and that's a failing of mine that I am continually on the path to rectifying as I see more of these matches. And I didn't downgrade the match because of this. You didn't see a lot of technical stuff in this match. It was just two guys lighting each other up with chops and punches and slaps and kicks and things like that. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's a good thing here, because they were going at it and they were laying the lumber on each other, but you could tell there was a healthy amount of respect that both men had for each other. Because of the, shake my hand at the end, you be a man, you said you would shake my hand, and you did. You think Ric Flair matches, though, and you think, okay, it's more of a technical masterpiece, but Flair was also very good at morphing his style into whoever he was wrestling to make him look like $1 million. We've said this before about Ric Flair.
Oh, yeah.
And he made Terry Funk look like $1 million here. He made it believable that Terry could actually make Rick say, I quit.
He also made Terry Funk's chest look like the color of my shirt.
Yes, that wasn't lost on me either. And right from the get-go,
I lost count at 30 chops. Damn.
Yeah, right from the get-go, and you have what WCW I think did very well, the contrast in styles. You got Terry Funk coming to the ring with the Desperados behind him, and you got Ric Flair coming to the ring with all the pretty women. You know, just par for the course with Slick Rick. But then match starts, and they just start laying into each other, and each guy was giving as well as he was taking. You know, there was no quarter given by anybody in this match. And what really helped the match for me was Jim Ross on commentary. Jim Ross on commentary here is doing his absolute best work to lend the gravitas to the proceedings. And so many of the great matches, I mean, I call Jim Ross the soundtrack to my wrestling fandom because he's on the call for quite a few of these matches that I keep hearkening back to as touchstones in my wrestling life. And for obvious reasons, which we've talked about at length before on this show.
I'd say before he was the voice of WWE, he was the voice of WCW. And dude, there were me as a kid, a little Stinger, and there were a ton of Sting's best matches from like the late 80s and early 90s where Jim Ross is on the call, where this is before Jim Ross became a character, JR. You know, good God Almighty, they killed him when he was the best play-by-play man in the business. And Sting and Flair, Sting and Rude, Sting and Vader.
I forgot about the schmaz at the end after the decision was rendered, where Sting comes down, and was Luger involved and maybe a few other people. I forget. There was a Japanese person. Forgive me, I forget who it was. The name escapes me, but there was about 4 or 5 guys that came down afterwards and got into it with Flair and Sting, and
it was Kensuke Shinsaki.
Yes, because he had wrestled earlier in the night. I made them remember them saying. So the match for me is an A-, for the simple fact that there wasn't as much technical stuff as I would have expected from a match involving Ric Flair. I get why, but it's a definitive A- for me because the toughness of both guys was on display in full force here. Nobody can question Terry Funk's toughness. Nobody can question Ric Flair's toughness, especially after watching this match.
Nope. You've said pretty much everything there needs to be said about this match. I want to throw one more thing out because obviously I love this match. I think it's an A. I think it's a middle of the road A. I think it's probably the second greatest match to ever air on a Clash of Champions. The best one being Flair and Sting in the very first Clash of Champions. They went to that 45-minute time limit draw where, this is the match that made Sting. But the one thing I always, no matter how many times I watch it, the one thing I'm always in awe of that Terry Funk did, not Flair, not Gary Hart at ringside, not JR, not anybody else, not even Tommy Young as the referee. When Flair locks in the figure 4, Terry Funk does such an amazing job evoking emotion out of the fans with that microphone in his face. No, I won't give up. Never. My leg, it's breaking. Yeah. Yes, I quit. Okay, yes, it's scripted. No, his leg really wasn't breaking, y'all. But we always talk about on this show the suspension of disbelief. So when you're in that suspension of disbelief and everything in wrestling is real, just to hear that is just like, oh crap.
And for the record, I've said this before too. I've never had that move put on me, but I bet if I did have it put on me, it would not feel comfortable.
Don't feel good. It don't feel good because literally you got
bet
shin
it would be a problem.
right here, and it sucks balls. Or you've got shin bone right above your knee, and it still sucks balls.
Yeah.
Me and the guys back home used to backyard wrestle, and one guy loved slapping the figure four on people, and he could do it very well, and he executed it properly, but it didn't feel good.
And I'm not saying that I need anybody that is a practitioner of the said figure four leg lock to come over to the studios here and put it on me, because I don't need, no, it's fine. I get it.
I'll vouch for you. It don't feel good.
Okay.
Matt Carroll slapped that bitch on me more times than I wanted to count. Shout out to my boy Matt from back home. But yeah, Matt slapped that thing on me plenty of times. It don't feel good. And then keep in mind at the same time I also had chicken legs. Yes, there you go. Freely admit. Breaking news. Patrick has chicken legs. Always has, always will. Anyway, yeah, chicken legs and T-Rex arms. Dude, let's get to some bar talk because I've been looking forward to this all freaking week.
Me as well.
Topic for tonight's bar talk for at least the next 10, 15 minutes. Not necessarily matches that you as a wrestling fan or a connoisseur or even someone getting into wrestling. Not the matches that you have to see. These are the matches that we will never get tired of. Just things in the wrestling world that no matter what, I will watch that match. I don't care how many times I've seen it. I will watch that match. I always use this on my personal social media, especially like on my own Facebook account. Whenever college football season rolls around over the last 6 years, I have always found any opportunity to share or reshare a video of the famed kick six play from the Iron Bowl in 2014.
All right, here we go. 56-yarder. Does not have the leg. And Chris Davis takes it in the back of the end zone. He'll run it out to the 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 45. There goes Davis. Oh, my God. Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game. Auburn's going to win the football game. He ran the missed field goal back. He ran it back 109 yards. They're not going to keep him off the field tonight. Holy cow.
My comment in the post, no, it's something blah, 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 but I always put in the phrase, this will never get old.
6 words.
Shut
Auburn's
up, everybody. This will never get old.
No, 6 words. Auburn's going to win the football game.
Auburn's going to. Rod Bramblett, rest in peace, man. Yeah. I'm getting chicken skin just thinking about it. Why? Because this never gets old. And I don't know about you, Brian, but that's how I approached my list. I can watch these matches and as a wrestling fan, get those good feelings like this is it. This will never, ever, ever get old.
In a similar vein to that Auburn game for you, there's a video on YouTube. I don't know who put it together, but it's kind of a recap of Ohio State's 2014 national championship when they won the first college football playoff. I've probably seen that thing 100 times because it starts off perfectly. It starts off with all the disappointment, like they lost to Michigan State in the Big Ten championship the year before, and all the scandal that rocked the program when Tressel left and all that kind of stuff. And then it starts off with them losing to Virginia Tech at the beginning of the season.
Yep.
And from the ashes of all of that, they start stringing together these wins, and they manage to get into the playoff, in the bracket. much to the chagrin of a lot of talking heads nationally. And then they take out Alabama, which was a freaking awesome game.
Yes, it was.
And then they take out Oregon. And you can see it builds to just this crescendo. And the crescendo starts when they beat Penn State in overtime, when Bosa drove that tailback back into Christian Hackenberg. And I get the same feels that you do about the Kick 6 game. I would like to start off with the first submission, if I may.
Quick, hold up. Let's go ahead and take one off the board because we're both going to say it. So let's just gold standard it.
And also this list, once it's compiled, will be on the homepage of our bit.ly, so you can select some matches at your leisure, if you will, and queue them up on that YouTube or on the WWE Network, because we want to spread the wealth, especially in this time of closed arena events and things like that. We want to give you something to watch to whet your appetite for things coming up.
Yes, but let's go ahead and make that gold standard. The one match that universally Brian and I can agree on, it will never get old. And it can be summed up by one simple phrase. Good God Almighty, they killed him. The Hell in the Cell match. Taker, Mankind, King of the Ring. 98, 99. I don't
King
remember.
Ring 98.
98, that's right. I'll watch it 1.5 million times. If it would have ended badly for Mick Foley, I would have never watched it again. But the fact that 20 years later, we're still talking about it, and 20 years later, he is still talking about it, never gets old.
And as we mentioned last week, there is a WWE Untold on the network about this match. So if you haven't queued that up, I recommend everybody go out there and queue it up after you're done listening to us talk about these matches. So the Hell in a Cell match with Taker and Mankind is the gold standard. My first submission for this list, let's see, where should I go to first? I'll go with the one that started it all for me.
Okay.
Fresh-faced intellectual savior of the wrestling masses, going over to his dad's friend's house to watch this thing called closed circuit pay-per-view. What are we even talking about here? I don't even know what this is. The event is WrestleMania 3. And of all the matches on that card that stood out to me as a fresh-faced intellectual savior of the wrestling masses, the match for the Intercontinental Championship between Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and the Macho Man Randy Savage. Ooh, yeah, dig it. I've talked about this match before, but it's pure poetry. Forget about Miss Elizabeth. Forget about George the Animal Steel. Just focus on the two guys in the ring wrestling each other, because these are wrestling moves, ladies and gentlemen. It's the one that sticks with me. It's not Hulk and Andre, even though that was a cataclysmic event, because I'm screaming at the television, come on, Hulk, you got to do it. That kind of thing. I keep coming back to Savage and the Steamboat because it's art. It's wrestling as an art form.
I will throw in one more comment for this, in case you're throwing in comments when you're listing these matches. If you're not, whatever. This match, WWE was quoted, and I can't remember, was some archivist from WWE. They did a poll every year after WrestleMania. What's the greatest WrestleMania match of all time? They updated it every year. And from WrestleMania 3 for another 22 years, this match was always number one. This was for 22 years, was considered the greatest WrestleMania match of all time. Which leads me to my first submission. Thank you, Brian. The match that supplanted Steamboat and Savage as the greatest WrestleMania match of all time. WrestleMania 25. Shawn and Undertaker.
And we're not going to apologize, by the way, for certain people showing up over and over on this list, because it's inescapable. these matches are going to showcase some of the greatest talent that wrestling has ever had to offer. I bring his name up a lot to get a rise out of the Reverend of the Rant over there, but I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. Okay? No Simon Dean matches are included in the making of this list, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry if that's what you came for. If that's what you came for, maybe you need to go down to the wrestling podcast, down the YouTube a little bit, because we're not here to, give you Simon Dean's greatest hits. We're here because these are the matches that keep coming up, and you're going to be hearing a lot of these names. So if we're repetitive, we're sorry. Actually, we're not sorry, because these matches are awesome. Take my word for it.
Yeah. Here's spoiler alert. Sting, the Hardys, and
Shawn.
Yeah, Sting, the Hardys, and Shawn both all appear twice on my list.
That's fair. Can't fault you.
No, Sting, the Hardys, and Shawn all appear in this twice. What's your next one, bud?
Did you want to talk about Shawn and Taker?
I don't need to.
You don't need to. Okay. My next one.
Literally, I can piggyback off of what I said at the end of yours. I rest my case.
Okay.
Savage Steamboat was the greatest match until WrestleMania 25. Shawn and Taker.
Go watch it and find out why.
Watch it and try to tell me I'm wrong.
You'll be wrong, but you can try.
I'm not saying greatest wrestling match of all time. That's also on my list too. But greatest WrestleMania match of all time. That one.
My next one also comes from a WrestleMania. Comes from WrestleMania 10. And it was the very first match of the evening. Bret Hart versus Owen Hart. You don't get to see brother versus brother that often.
I thought you were going to go Shawn and Razor in the ladder match.
That's a good one too, but for me, Bret and Owen eclipses it a little bit for several reasons. Number one, it's Owen's coming out party.
Yeah.
It kind of sets off the narrative of Owen as the overlooked younger brother in Bret's shadow, because this is around the time where Bret is clearly starting to be groomed by the office as the heir apparent to Hulk's leaving. We got to come up with new stars, and we're going to hitch our wagon to Bret Hart at the expense of his brother, because let's not forget, Bret Hart comes from a great wrestling family with a great wrestling tradition in Canada. Owen Hart, ladies and gentlemen, was no slouch, and we miss you, brother. I also did not realize until I was much older what a great talent Owen was, and that's because he just wasn't given the same spotlight that Bret was. But here's this match. It's the kickoff match to the lid lifter, a term I love using, of WrestleMania 10. And these two guys went for almost 20 minutes, delivered a technical masterpiece, and Owen beat him.
Yeah.
It's, and it was unfathomable for me at the time. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is kind of an upset here. Yes, Bret wins the championship at the end of the night, much to Owen's chagrin, but it's easily I would go out on a limb and say it's the best WrestleMania kickoff match ever.
Yeah.
There's no other ones that even come close to it.
Don't want to cut you off, but we are sitting at about 50 minutes on the show, so we do need to keep things rolling. I'm kind of watching the clock. I didn't know if you can see the clock on the record screen or not from on your end. But then that one is a great match. That one, my quick comment, that one made me an Owen fan. My next one from Hardcore Heaven 1997 in ECW, it is Rob Van Dam versus Jerry Lynn. Best ECW match ever. Cut, drink, kill the pig.
And a former homework assignment too.
Former homework assignment. It's as good as it gets. It is quick. It is high impact. It is a spot fest. And it is chain wrestling with two guys that want to strike. Awesome stuff. If you haven't watched it, watch it. Brian, you're up.
My next one I'm including because I was chastised in the pre-show meeting for almost not including it.
Not not. It's your dude, and it's the one match you quote incessantly.
I didn't want to be predictable. I wanted to broaden my horizons and give you other things that you weren't expecting. I know. So do it.
Stop. You knew damn good and well Taker and Shawn from 25 was on my list, and you knew I was leading with it. That's as predictable as it gets.
Okay, fine. Mea culpa. From Judgment Day 2000, one of my favorite match stipulations, there is an Iron Man match where you go 60 minutes and it's the most falls of any kind in that time period. You are the winner. For the WWF Championship, it's The Rock and Triple H. Rock going in as the champion, Triple H winning at the end. There was a lot of debate, could we make people care for an hour? And there was a lot of hand-wringing about this. And yes, you have schmaz at the end involving DX and the McMahons and The Undertaker and everything like that. But I thought The Rock and Triple H did a great job of going as long as they possibly could to the point of near exhaustion, and making you care for an hour. It's a wonderful match. Is it the best Iron match ever? No, but it's my favorite match of all time for so many reasons that I've elaborated in this show before. So that needs to be on the list.
Absolutely. My next one's actually fairly recent, from NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 1, I think, or it might be Brooklyn 2. Bayley versus Sasha Banks. When Bayley becomes the NXT Women's Champion. That might be, for its money, one of the best NXT matches ever. Enough said. Brian, next.
Next one, from the 2000 Royal Rumble in Madison Square Garden, Triple H versus Cactus Jack in the street fight for the WWF Championship.
Yeah. Brutal.
The brutality, the escalation of it, the promos leading up to it, which we've talked about, Triple H doing the sell job on, when Mankind took the mask off, his reactions were as much a reason for that rivalry being as great as it was as anything. And just the toughness that both guys showed. Triple H taking the piece of the pallet in his leg, and then the tacks at the end, and just, if you're looking for brutality, that's the match for you.
Yeah. My next one, I'm actually gonna mark a couple off for time constraints. We might add, I'll probably add them to the list, but the ones I definitely wanted to throw out there, the greatest match of all time, in my opinion. I'm not sure of the number. I want to say this was Wrestle Kingdom 12. Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada. Their very first encounter. I think that was Wrestle Kingdom 12. Come on.
For me, the 2 out of 3 falls match was better.
I'll give you that one. But this one, because it was the first one and you didn't know what to expect, and I have never popped so hard for one table spot in my entire life, because they set that damn thing up and 45 minutes later it died. The best wrestling match, period. Move on.
Okada's unparalleled, and they don't call Omega the best bout machine for nothing. I have 2 more. One I'm going to save for the end because it's your homework for this week.
Nice.
My second to last one is from 2001's King of the Ring. Shane McMahon versus Kurt Angle in the street fight.
That's on my two.
Especially knowing what we know now, because there's an untold about this match too, boys and girls. And knowing what we know now, forget about his recent foibles on screen, best, in the world and all that kind of stuff. Shane earned all of my respect in this match. Because let's face it, let me boil this down for you. It's a non-wrestler holding his own against an Olympic gold medalist. Yes, Kurt Angle helped him along, in spots and things like that, but Shane was no slouch here. And no. Shane was doing most of this with a concussion. because he gets dumped on his head unwittingly halfway through the match. So he gets my utmost respect for that, and Kurt Angle is just doing Kurt Angle things. And for that reason alone, it's worth a watch.
Okay. So I've got two more that I want to throw out, so I'll just rapid fire them and you can close with homework. How's that sound?
Works for me.
From No Mercy 1999, if I'm not mistaken, in Cleveland, Ohio, the Hardys versus Edge and Christian in a ladder match.
That no time. The seesaw, oh my goodness.
It was for the services of Terry Runnels as a manager. But without this match, we would not have TLCs. Ladder matches would not be what they are today. This is one of those matches that deserves to be on like the Mount Olympus. Because, without this, there's not this, and this. It's kind of like the Horsemen. Without the Horsemen, there's no DX, there's no Evolution, there's no NWO, there's no Bullet Club, blah, 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 blah. Just keep going. Without this match, ladder matches ain't shit.
If it hadn't worked as well as it did, they wouldn't have gone back to it.
No, they're absolutely not. And the last one I want to throw on that I'll actually mention, because I've got some other really good ones and a funny one, literally. I'm throwing in the Jake Roberts and Rick Martel blindfold match from WrestleMania 7 because it's just asinine. It is just fun to watch. It's boring as crap. But you can Mystery Science Theater 3000 that thing and just make your own commentary. It's great. And I'm not sure which Fall Brawl this was. It's a War Games match. Shocker there. The guy who has the biggest heart-on in the world for War Games matches. And a War Games match makes my list. It is Sting's Squadron, which, if I'm not mistaken, is Sting, the Steiners, and Dustin Rhodes? I can't remember the fourth. Right. Versus the Dangerous Alliance. Rick Rude, Steve Austin, Double A Arn Anderson, Larry Zbyszko. Oh, that thing is fun to watch. I've got other matches on here. I've got Gargano and Cole 1. I've got Sting and Vader in the White Castle of Fear strap match. 2 Bret Hart matches. The submission match with Steve Austin at WrestleMania 13. And my favorite Bret Hart match of all time for the Intercontinental title against the British Bulldog at SummerSlam, whatever year it was, in London.
92.
92. And the other match on my list is the ladder match from Armageddon with Regal and Taylor, London and Kendrick, the Hardys, and Eminem, where Joey Mercury gets his face rearranged. That aside from itself, the match itself was freaking awesome. But nobody remembers it because Joey Mercury got his face shattered.
Joey Mercury remembers it.
Joey Mercury probably wishes to God he didn't.
So my final submission for this list, which is also your homework for this week, and it goes against type for me, because usually when I give these matches out, there's some giant aspiration for them, or it's a technical classic, it's a 5-star. This is not going to be mistaken for that.
This is a freaking fight, isn't it?
Huh?
This is a freaking fight, isn't it?
Pretty much. And it's also a lot of fun. Okay? We're going back to WrestleMania X7 in the Houston Astrodome.
No. If you're going to give me if you're going to give me the gimmick battle royal, I'm going to kill you.
It's not the gimmick battle royal. Would you calm down?
Thank God.
But this match is a lot of fun. But there's also a lot of fighting going on. It is a triple threat match for the Hardcore Championship.
Show Raven and Kane.
Yes. Because it was unlike anything I had ever seen at the time. They explored their environment, and they were going into the bowels of the Astrodome and stuff like that, and stuff's getting broken. It's just a very fun match that, it serves its purpose. We're not out here for a 5-star classic because it's the Hardcore Championship. I mean, come on. but still, you can tell Show, Kane, and Raven are giving it their all.
They're going.
Yeah, they're going for it. The title is on the line here. I always like queuing that one up because it's a novel. It's a novel approach for WWE at the time. I mean, yeah, you saw stuff of this in ECW all the time, but for WWE at the time to do this on a stage that big with that many eyeballs on it was something novel for them, and that's one of the reasons I like it so much.
I haven't watched that one in a while. I'm looking forward to that one. That one's gonna be fun. But yeah, I do remember that because I don't know if they pre-built stuff for them direct, but man, they did a lot of property damage during that fight. It was spectacular. Good show, buddy.
Yeah.
Good show. So next week, I forgot, what was the topic for next week?
How are we going to make WrestleMania fun?
How to make WrestleMania fun. If anything
and I've
else,
got 4 things written down already.
Oh, I haven't written anything down, but I'll come up with some damn fine stuff. I promise you that. We'll probably have a bar talk in there as well. If you guys have suggestions,
we should do the Lovebirds bar talk next week.
Oh, what was that? I forgot.
Wrestlers in movies and TV.
There we go. Wrestlers
that's going to be the bar talk.
Big Show does count because he's done movies, but it doesn't really count because the Big Show on Netflix has not started yet. Although I'm hearing really good things about it. So yeah, Wrestlers in movies will be the bar talk next week. If you guys want to chime in, hit us up on Twitter. I'm at Rant Mode On. Brian's at BCrigo15. WrestlingWithEgos@gmail.com is the email address. Don't forget to check out the entire list of 1004 holds featuring Armbar at bit.ly/withegos. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, all that beautiful fun stuff. Click the bell on YouTube for the wonderful notifications. And as always, shout out to our boy Ace 500 for this kick-ass beat that we go out to each and every week. It is Soul Train off of his Chef Goo soundtrack. Off of his Chef Goo. Oh, it's very saucy. Check out his SoundCloud. The link is in the bio. A link is in the description of the show. Brian, before we roll out of here, any final thoughts?
My fireside chat that I did is going to be posted soon, and I'll reiterate what I said in that fireside chat. You can use this weird time that as a wrestling fan right now, go back and rediscover what made you fall in love with this sport we call professional wrestling. Or use this list that we're putting up on our homepage to explore the world of professional wrestling. That's a great time to do it because you guys probably have some time on your hands. Take some of that time and check some of these matches out because you'll understand why we love it so much, and you will deepen your love for it as well.
I completely agree. I do not have any time on my hands because I work in a warehouse that distributes to grocery stores, and I was on overtime 30 minutes into my shift on Friday. So shout out to my boss for kicking me out early today. Thanks, Eric. I appreciate it, buddy. Learned something new, and he was like, go home. Thanks, pal. Appreciate it. Well, as always, we appreciate you guys for sticking with us for this last hour. Hope you guys have enjoyed it as much as we have enjoyed bantering back and forth like we always do, except this time it's actually being recorded. For everybody else involved with the show, I'm Patrick. That's Brian. This has been Wrestling with Egos, and until next week, as always, that's our story, and we are sticking to it.
Another satisfied customer.